Committee to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Adams. Senator Douglas.
Present.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator Higdon. Senator Howe. Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel. Senator Nemus.
Present.
Senator Thayer.
Here.
Senator Thomas. Representative Banta.
Present.
Representative Bratcher.
Here.
Representative Callaway. Representative Kleins.
Here.
Representative Dixon. Representative Pfister.
Present.
Representative Flannery.
Here.
Representative Gentry. Representative Heverin. Representative Herron. Representative Huff.
Here.
Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative Kulkarni. Representative Meredith. Representative Palumbo.
Here.
Representative Pratt.
Present.
Representative Smith. Representative Timoney. Co-Chair Schickel.
Present.
Chairman Cook.
Here. All right, we're ready to operate here. Before we get started, since this is the last meeting, I want to put a special thank you out here to our L&O staff. You guys are absolutely amazing. We couldn't do this without you. You make this interim run extremely smooth, and thank you so much for all you do, every one of you. Let's give them a big hand. All right, do I have a motion to approval of minutes? Got a motion, got a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We're going to start off with Senator Meredith. Welcome, sir. Please come up to the table. You know the drill, but for your guest, if you could just hit the green light, introduce yourself for the record. Let's rock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I am Steve Meredith, State Senator for the 5th District, here to discuss the bill request 464, and I always appreciate the opportunity to appear before this committee. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Tom Childress. I'm a podiatrist. I practice in Louisville, Kentucky.
This is a very unique bill. My 40 years of healthcare, my 7 years as state senator, I've never seen a group of healthcare professionals asked to have more restrictions placed on them. Usually it's just the opposite, to have fewer, but this one, in fact, does that. But I think it truly improves the quality of care for Kentuckians. But the essence of it is, if you look at KRS Chapter 311, it's very sparse when it talks about the field of podiatry. The qualifications are quite minimal to get a license in Kentucky. Most medical professionals require some type of residency program in order to get a fully unrestricted license, but Kentucky law does not require that for podiatrists. Also, you're going to see the addition of the request for regulations on a podiatrist assistant, which we never have had before. And I think this will help create a career ladder for us as well. But as to why this is important to move this forward, and in essence it says right now, once you complete medical school for a podiatrist, you get an unrestricted license in Kentucky if you meet all the other qualifications. And what we're asking is that we change that to require a residency program before you get a fully unrestricted license. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Childress and let him explain the importance of this.
Currently, you can obtain a license in Kentucky with no training after your medical education. So the standard these days is for 3 years of training after you complete your medical school education. And so we have people migrating to this state who have left a residency program for some odd reason, or who have not even done a residency program, and we have to give them a license to practice when it is not in the best interest of our constituents.
And from our research, it appears that Kentucky's the only state that has this latitude in giving an unrestricted license just for completing your medical education. We think Alaska is maybe the other state that doesn't require this, but this brings us conformity of everybody else, and I think will improve the quality of the profession itself.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any questions for Senator Meredith? No questions. Okay, let's roll. Thank you, gentlemen, for your testimony. Really appreciate it. And thank you. We're going to have one change. We're going to move licensure compacts is going to go second. Then we're going to come back to the Nurses Association. So Representative Johnson, sir, if you come up to the table, and see you got Representative Hart with you. Happy Veterans Day to both of you guys. if you turn the green light on, introduce yourself for the record and begin.
State Representative DJ Johnson, 13th District.
State Representative Mark Hart, 78th House District.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we're here today to provide you an update on the compact licensure legislation that we intend to bring to the committee in the 2024 regular session. So what I'd like to do is just give a very brief background on the compact programs, and then we'll just, in the spirit of efficiency, we'd like to cover all of the compacts that we're looking at for this coming session. So the compact program, effectively what it is it's an opportunity and a method for the different states to streamline licensing and board requirements for different job titles, jobs. Effectively, what it does is it brings states together, and this program has actually been a partnership between the Council of State Governments and the Department of Defense. So the goal for both of these organizations is to streamline the licensure process so that when someone moves from one state, they can move into the other and immediately get to work. And for the Department of Defense, this is particularly important because as service members move from one state to another, their family comes with them, and very often their spouse can't do their job for weeks, months, or even years, and about the time they become licensed in a state, it's time for them to move again. So the Department of Defense has made this a priority for quality of life, effectively, for the service members. So with that being the case, very simply, it's a streamlining process. We do a couple of these every year. We have potentially 4, maybe even 5 for this year that we're looking to put on the docket, and I will turn it over to Representative Hart. We'll just very briefly cover the ones that we've got coming up this year.
Thank you, Representative Johnson. The bill that I'm carrying is the EMS compact for licensing. It's going to be the draft as it is now is the exact same bill that was filed last year that we didn't get the opportunity to work, but it addresses paramedics and EMT licensure and their ability to practice in this state upon moval to the state. And it's basically, like I said, it's going to be the same bills last year. There's not a lot of changes. We are working with Kentucky Board of Emergency Medical Services. There is one issue that we're trying to address that they've brought to our attention that we feel like we'll be able to get addressed before January, before the bill's actually filed. So.
And Mr. Chairman, the legislation I'll be bringing is referencing massage therapists and the boards there. And very briefly, it has been vetted through our state board, and the board is neutral. And basically, that's kind of where the boards typically are. I think that it's safe to say that they're always a little cautious when something from out of state comes in and might change their way of doing things. So they're typically neutral, and that's where we are with the massage therapists. But it has been well vetted, and we will be presenting it in the coming session. And then also, I would also like to just mention there will be another one that Representative Massaroni will be running, and that is a compact for dental assistants. And it's effectively at the same point. It's been vetted. The board is happy with it to come through. Their official position is neutral, and that's fine with us.
Co-Chairman Schickel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome. Thank you for your testimony. I just wanted to add a few comments for if the bill makes it over to the Senate. One of the things we balance in this committee, and it's nothing new, is the balance between, many of us on this committee consider ourselves federalists, and we believe in sovereign states and the rights of states to set their own standards, either higher or lower than neighboring states. So one of the things we're going to be looking at, we have to balance efficiency with the interests of individual states and their authority to make sure that we're not giving up our sovereign authority as a state. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion because it's always something we look at.
Chairman, could I just
Yes, sir.
add to that? And, sir, I completely agree with you. I'm a big states' rights guy. So that's why this goes through the process it does. We very carefully vet it with the different boards and agencies that are involved with these different professions. And I would say that there are times where we don't get there. There are professions, there are ones we would like to get through, and out of due diligence to the local boards or the state boards, we just don't go there. And then we keep working on it to try to get there, and when we do, then we'll bring it to you guys. But until then, we're not going to do that.
Excellent point, Senator Schickel. Thank you for bringing that up. And thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Okay, let's go with the Kentucky Nurses Association. Good morning. Thank you for being here with us. If you just make sure the green light's on and give us your name for the record and organization you're with, and we'll get started.
My name is Teresa Villaran. I'm with the Kentucky Nurse Association. I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee for allowing me this opportunity to testify today. I chair the Government Affairs Cabinet of the Kentucky Nurse Association, or KNA. I've been a nurse for 36 years, and I currently work at the chair side in in-center dialysis. The Kentucky Nurse Association represents all 90,000 of Kentucky's nurses working in all areas of healthcare, from acute hospitals to doctors' offices to dialysis units. And nurses make up over 53% of the healthcare workforce. The nurses at the KNA want to lead in addressing the nursing shortage in Kentucky. In your committee packet is a bill draft that would establish safe staffing committees in healthcare facilities. This draft is the result of months of studying what other states have been doing to increase satisfaction and retention of nurses. States like Texas, Oregon, Connecticut, Illinois, Nevada, New York, Ohio, and Washington. Our intent is not to reinvent the wheel, but take something that has worked elsewhere and customize it to the needs of the Kentucky nurse workforce. Safe staffing committees, which meet at least quarterly, are predominantly made up of direct care nurses, as well as other members of the healthcare team to be determined by the committee. Nursing leadership would be on the committee to lend input on financial constraints that must be considered when planning staffing. Rather than staffing decisions being made by individuals who may not interact with patients and therefore may not know the intricacies and needs of each unit, staffing plans are made by those who know best, the frontline workers or nurses. You will hear me emphasize many times today that engaging nurses decreases their intent to leave and turnover rates while increasing their retention. Each clinical area, through representation on the Safe Staffing Committee, will determine their appropriate safety indicators, including but not limited to patient outcomes, formal complaints regarding staffing, either from patients or staff, delay and or absence of direct care nursing, hours of nursing care compared with the number, acuity, and flow of patients served, mandatory overtime, voluntary overtime, number of shifts in which staffing differed from the plan, and other matters as needed to ensure the facility is staffed to meet the healthcare needs of our patients and the safety and satisfaction of staff. Units have unique needs based upon patient mix, acuity levels, and staffing mix and competency. Direct patient care nurses know the needs and challenges of their unit and bring wealth of knowledge, experience, and innovation to the table when it comes to staffing needs. Safe staffing committees value the unique contributions of nurses by engaging them in collaboration, innovative thinking, strategic planning, and leadership development. Engaged nurses tend to commit to the organization and to the profession itself. A study from 2012 showed that any meaningful participation of direct care nurses can lead to improvements in nurse and patient satisfaction and the avoidance of adverse patient events. Specifically, this study showed involving nurses in decisions about patient care, workloads, work methods, and organizational effectiveness has an impact on nurse satisfaction, retention, and avoidance of adverse events and reduction of infections. You may ask, how does this help with our nursing shortage? In many facilities, direct care nurses don't have a voice when it comes to staffing levels in the areas they work. The American Association of Critical Care Nurses has identified 6 standards of a healthy work environment. Safe staffing committees meet 3 of those standards: appropriate staffing, effective decision-making, and true collaboration. The American Nurse Association recommends safe staffing committees because they reform the work environment, innovate models of care, establish safe staffing standards ensuring quality of care, and value the unique contributions of nurses. 78% of hospital nurses lack confidence in hospital management to resolve clinical problems. Safe staffing committees engage nurses in the staffing processes and provide an avenue for input which reduces their stress and frustration and helps prevent burnout, which is the major reason for nurses leaving the profession. Another recent study this year by the American Nurses Foundation found 56% of surveyed nurses are experiencing symptoms of burnout, while 64% reported feeling a great deal of stress due to their job. We have so many of these studies on nurses and how they feel about their current work environments. As Sylvain Trepanier, Vice President and Chief Nursing Officer at Providence Health System in Renton, Washington, stated, "It doesn't matter how good we are at recruiting and retaining nurses. We're never going to have enough if we keep working the way we're working now. And yet we continue to staff the way we have always staffed our healthcare facilities." And as you may know, 1 in 5 of the 4.5 million registered nurses plan to leave the healthcare industry by 2027. Almost 60% of nursing students have indicated they want careers that don't include direct patient care. Sherry Donberger, who is Executive Director of the National Association of Directors of Nursing Administration, lists the following reasons why this is with students. Students want to skip bedside nursing due to the nursing shortage. They don't have enough staff. Students see nurses getting beaten, threatened, and harmed by patients, residents, and family members. They want to go get their advanced practice nurse to set their own hours and get paid more for their worth. They want to go into administration, and many students want a position where they can work remotely. Involving nurses in decisions, particularly through these safe staffing committees, is an inexpensive and effective way to focus on nurse retention. Safe staffing is a concern not only for nurses, but for healthcare facilities. The more nurses stay on the job, the fewer traveling nurses a facility will have to pay to supplement their staffing needs. The cost to facilities to supplement their employed staff with temporary staff has been an additional, unsustainable, exorbitant cost before COVID, but especially since COVID. By eliminating 20 travel RNs, a hospital can save, on average, $3.1 million. Approaching the nurse shortage by input from the nursing workforce increases the quality of care our patients receive. Involving nurses in safe staffing committees that plan for adequate nurse skill mix and the resultant decrease in adverse events, even in small numbers, will produce a large return on investment for our healthcare institutions by reducing costs spent to treat adverse events. It makes sense to utilize the nursing workforce in determining what best works for them and their patients, from their vantage point of being on the front lines of the issue. Transformational improvements in staffing and work environments are needed to stabilize the nurse workforce and positively impact patient care. Nurses want greater participation in decision-making. We believe implementation of safe staffing committees is a way to help facilities retain their nurses by promoting, encouraging, and including them in decisions and utilizing them in determining workforce issues and solutions. By doing this, it will indicate that safe staffing is an institutional priority and management is actively investing in their nursing workforce. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you about safe staffing committees and why they are needed. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. We have one from Senator McDaniel.
So it sounds like what we're doing here is not necessarily allowing these, but we're mandating these at every health facility, correct?
So, yes, it
I'm
would
over here,
have,
right?
health facilities would have these staffing committees.
But they would be required by law to have them under your proposal.
If this bill passed.
All right, very good. Thank you.
One more question. Do you have a bill sponsor for this yet?
We have many that are interested, but we don't have a single one.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, thank you very much for your testimony. Let's go with Representative Fleming and Wilner. Welcome. You know the drill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I'm Ken Fleming. I represent the 48th District and covers Jefferson and part of Oldham County.
And Lisa Wilner, representing House District 35.
Representative Willner and I have been working on this a bit really more than she than I in regards to this compact for clinical social workers. I'm not going to go over what Representative Johnson covered, but I think you're all familiar, and he sort of set the stage in terms of how important a compact is, particularly when it comes to mental health issues. As a person who runs a mental health agency, we see a significant void in the workforce when it comes to providing mental health services of all spectrums, from no matter where you are in life. There is a need when it comes to mental health, and this compact is basically will help facilitate and feed into the pipeline to get more people into the service of providing those mental health services and so forth. Basically, this compact is a culmination of around 17 or so states that have come together and to present a consolidated approach to make sure that each state's I guess their quality, the requirements are not suffered, to make sure they maintain a certain level of service on several different levels. We've gotten quite a few letters of support in terms of having this being put forth. I think Representative Johnson mentioned about the DOD. They have sent a long email that has really important to their members in the DOD as well as the military, and so not only in the military of the individuals that serve, but also their families and spouses and so forth. I'm not going to go into all the details. We will be presenting a bill probably the first week of January, and then we can go over more details about that. So Representative Willner might have some comments.
Right. So Representative Fleming and I served on the Severe Mental Illness Task Force a couple of interims ago, and Representative Fleming really led the way on. We had just passed the Psychology Interstate Compact, and Representative Fleming really led the way on recommendations for all the mental health providers to engage in compacts at their earliest opportunities. I will say that the NASW, National Association of Social Work Kentucky, started working on that immediately. Their executive director is here today in support of the bill, as is Mark Kelly, the executive director of their licensing board. I also want to say to Senator Schickel's point about states' rights, that Kentucky would be one of the early adopters of this. They would be part of the initial group that got to really make changes. So Kentucky's voice would be loud and clear at the table in setting up the terms of this compact going forward.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Got another compact? And just remember Senator Schickel's comments as you do there as we move forward with that. So make sure we keep Kentucky's sovereignty and high standards up there.
Thank you,
All right,
Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Let's go to Mike Kleins with physician attendants.
Mr. Chairman, we also had another bill to present, the psychology.
Okay.
Psychologist.
Yes. All right. Let's knock that out. Go ahead.
It should be really quick. I'm going to let Representative Willner basically describe about this. It goes back to the pipeline and getting psychologists into the workforce sooner without sacrificing any of the criteria and so forth. So, Representative?
I'll do it. Thank you very much. This is Bill Request 48. You should have it in your packets. It's maybe the shortest little cleanup bill you've ever seen. It's 2 revisions to KRS 319, which is the Psychologist Licensing Bill. The psychologists, the members of the Kentucky Psychological Association, are asking for 2 very small changes. The first is on page 1, and it changes the supervision requirement for master's level psychological providers from 5 years of supervision to 2 years of supervision before they can practice independently. We have a lot of counties in this state that have no doctoral level psychologists. This would get master's level psychologists up and running, being able to provide services autonomously much sooner, and put psychology more in line with social work, licensed counselors, marriage family therapists. The other quick change is to extend the period of the temporary licensure And this is just because psychologists are required in their licensure to have both an oral and a written exam. The logistics of scheduling those can be quite complicated, especially when there's a surge in applications. Extending the period of the temporary licensure would just make sure that somebody who's already working in the field doesn't lose their ability to work in the field while they're waiting for their licensure exams. So that's all this bill does. We'll be proposing it in January and hope this committee will be supportive. We're not aware of any objections to it at all.
Okay, any questions on the psychology bill? Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate
Thank you.
being here.
Thank-
Representative Kleins. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike Kleins, State Representative, District 68.
My name is Kevin Payton. I'm with Top Shelf Lobby and represent the Kentucky Academy of Physician Assistants.
Hi, Andrew Rutherford. Hi, Andrew Rutherford. I am chair of the Government Affairs Committee for the Kentucky Academy of PAs and a critical care PA as my job. So first, I'd like to say thank you to Chairman Cook, Chairman Schickel, and committee members for allowing time to discuss potential legislation that the Kentucky Academy of PAs believes will make a series of important updates to PA practice statutes that would align Kentucky with the tenets of a healthcare team. The physician assistant profession, it's a natural fit for team-oriented care models as the profession was founded on the concept of collaborative practice. We believe that the most successful teams are those that utilize the skills and abilities of each team member most fully. Currently, the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure, who presides over the licensing of PAs in Kentucky, is comprised of 12 physicians and 3 at-large members. To fully complete this team, CAPA feels strongly that there should be PA representation on the voting board of the KBML. In Kentucky, our provider colleagues, including physicians and nurse practitioners, have representation on boards which regulate them. As noted previously, PAs do not have similar representation, and few of the members who make up our regulatory board work with PAs. This dearth of insight regarding PA practice has and will continue to lead to unnecessary restrictions, administrative burdens, and decreased updating of regulations and licensure forms for PAs. Currently, there is a PA advisory committee to the KBML board that, per statute, shall review and make recommendations to the board regarding all matters relating to physician assistants that come before the board. This committee consists of 5 practicing PAs, 2 supervising physicians, 1 member of the board, and 1 citizen at large. The practicing PAs who serve on the PA advisory committee are appointed by the KBML board without input from other stakeholders, including PAs for which the committee represents. CAPA does not believe that this committee is utilized appropriately or to the extent which the statute recommends, so along with the changes to the KBML board, CAPA will recommend that those PAs on the PA advisory committee, who will be appointed by the KBML board, be chosen from a list of 3 practicing PAs submitted by CAPA. This is not a novel concept, as other groups who are governed by the KBML, who have a committee similar to that of the PA Advisory Committee, choose their representatives in similar fashion. Another update that is needed, especially from an administrative perspective, is to allow for the PA supervising physician team to determine whether an alternate supervising physician is warranted in that particular practice setting. When the PA Practice Act was originally written, it contained this provision to ensure that a PA always has access to a supervising physician. But with updated statutes that reflect modern standards of practice, PAs can practice in a separate location as long as the method of communication with their supervising physician is outlined within their agreement. Simply put, updating this language does not remove the ability for an alternate supervising physician to be added to the PA's license, but better directs limited healthcare resources where they are most efficient as determined by the physician PA team. CAPA would also like to propose updates to PA's continuing education requirements. Kentucky has 4 nationally recognized PA programs providing high-quality evidence-based training to PAs. Kentucky's statute contains outdated language around HIV/CME requirements that has already been removed for physicians, nurses, and pharmacists, and we believe that it should be updated for PAs as well. Furthermore, recognizing the importance of education around pediatric head trauma in Kentucky, we asked to allow PAs to apply the course curriculum
they already receive in their graduate education, which in most cases exceeds the statutory minimums to meet the current licensure standard. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate the need to modernize PA practice and licensure in Kentucky, as we are losing more than half of those PA students who train in Kentucky to jobs outside of Kentucky. I would like to say thank you for your time to present today, and would like to say thank you to Representative Clines for helping facilitate this conversation.
Okay, thank you. We have two questions. Let's start with Senator Julie Rocky Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is the KBML open to this change?
I spoke with the executive director last night, and what grabbed me about this was two of the statutes haven't been revised or updated since 2016. So I just think best practice would be to take a look at it and see if we can modernize it. So, not to speak for them, but it was a very productive conversation.
Okay, thank you. And Representative Bradford doesn't need to ask his questions. Anybody else have a question? If not, do you guys have any further comments?
No, sir. Thank you for the
All
time.
right, thank you all for your presentation today. Let's move on to Representative Dixon, right to repair high-tech farm equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, and thank you, committee members. I am State Representative Jonathan Dixon, and I appreciate the chair and this committee allowing me the opportunity to talk about right to repair as it relates to agriculture equipment. Since diving into this subject, after a few concerns were raised from constituents of mine, there have been a few things that I have learned along the way with this subject and think that they're interesting facts and worth noting within the committee. There are many forms of this type of legislation floating around from state to state. There are a few states that have enacted this legislation that would not only be hurtful to our dealers, but potentially not achieve the outcome that our constituents are seeking. I have been in conversation with our dealers, manufacturers, and Farm Bureau about the issue. I have also learned along the way that there is a small disconnect between the manufacturers and the end user. Currently, on the national level, there are memorandums of understanding between manufacturers and Farm Bureau. Contained within these MOUs are a basis and groundwork for which I think is the correct path legislatively should it be pursued. At this time, I will continue to work with the manufacturers, dealers, and farmers within my community and this Commonwealth by keeping them and this committee informed if there is a need to take further action, and I do appreciate the chairman's willingness and the committee's willingness to speak on this issue and entertain it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Dixon. This is I know this is in the Ag Committee, but just quick background on this. Think high-tech equipment. Think $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $1,000 combines and stuff when you're thinking about this. This is a big deal in the technology that goes into this, and this is why that's such a hot-button issue around the United States right now, especially in the big farming areas. So do we have any questions for Representative Dixon on this? Okay. Thank you, sir. Look forward to hearing more about it.
Yep, thanks, sir.
Steve Bratcher, come on up. Happy Veterans Day to you too, sir.
So thank you for committee and chair for allowing us to present. Basically, what we're looking at doing is reducing the amount of time it takes from.
Just introduce yourself for the both of you. Introduce yourself for the record.
Go ahead.
My name's Josh Brooks. My name's Josh Brooks. I'm owner operator of the electrical contracting company, Mr. Electric, in Elizabethtown and Louisville.
Steve Bratcher, State House Representative, District 25. So as I was saying, we were looking at reducing the electrical master license from 8 years to 6 years in the state of Kentucky.
In reference to this compared to other neighboring states, we have 4 neighboring states that don't require a state license at all, and 2 of our neighboring states that have state licenses that are significantly less restrictive than Kentucky. And while we don't believe we should do away with state licenses at all, because it does lend credibility to our technicians and our electricians in the field. We feel like our restrictions and licensing requirements are a little stringent and excessive. Multiple reasons why this might be the case now. We've had lots of technology improvements and that make the job safer and a little more streamlined, and maybe some of the lengthy education and time requirements are not as necessary anymore. And from a personal perspective, as an electrical contractor and as an employer, recruiting has been just very, very difficult to recruit licensed electricians to work in the field. Growth of our companies, the ability to service our customers is limited as a result of that. The average age of a master electrician, electrical contractor, and electrical inspector in the state of Kentucky is over 50 years old. And it's obvious to me, especially because I'm in the field every day, that the young men and women are not taking up these roles. And we need to make these positions a little more easily attainable. And with the proper training and education that we're able to provide, especially through the KCTCS system, I think that with lowering the years required to meet those requirements with that education, we should consider that.
My only comment on it is to make sure when we're doing this that we never substitute quality for quantity. You have sparked a few questions, so let's go with Senator McDaniel.
Nice pun, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work. Gentlemen, what is the difference between an electrician's license and a master electrician's license?
Currently, in the state of Kentucky, the requirement is 2 more years of work experience under a master electrician as a basic electrician in order to qualify to take the test to become a master.
But what does it allow you to do differently? What can a master electrician do that an electrician cannot?
Master electrician allows the company that he works for or himself to be able to become an electrical contractor and pull permits. That's not something that's a capability of a basic electrician's license.
So it's almost like more administrative. I mean, actually being the one that calculates the loads to put in for some of the basic things, not electrical engineering, obviously.
That's
but,
correct. Yeah, it's basically just a more advanced level of knowledge and experience.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
There is a test there was a test for electrical license, and there's a test for master license as well. So it's not just the experience level. You still have to be competent and pass these exams, which are pretty difficult to be an electrician.
Senator Schickel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've always supported this kind of legislation. It sounds to me like it's very good, very reasonable, but I know from experience it seems like every session we have something about electricians. And at the end of the day, it usually turns into a giant food fight. Who's against this, just so we know what we're getting into? And I support the legislation, but I'm just curious, and maybe it's not that way this time. That would be great, but I'm just curious who are some of the other interests involved.
I've met with the IBEW, and they seem to support it. They're actually in the room today, and we've come to an agreement on this as well. So there's no opposition to this at the present time. They're here today if they want to speak.
Well, thank you. That's good news. Thank you.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mine's more of a comment than a question. I spoke to a group of electricians and inspectors in Bowling Green about 3 weeks ago, and when I looked around the room, the average age was probably 65. And during the question and answer session, they were almost begging, what can we do to help get the younger generation into the electrician field? And I don't know that specifically speaks to what you're talking about today, but I just wanted to throw that out there because, they were at retirement age, I would say 75, 80% of them, and they were really concerned, even the inspectors, who's going to take these jobs, who's going to fill these positions, and I think it is a problem that we're going to have going forward, not just in electrician, but a lot of areas. But maybe this is one thing that will help, but be thinking about other things that we can help in that profession. I think would be beneficial to all of us going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Jackson, I appreciate you co-sponsoring that bill.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your testimony. We're going to go from one hot issue to another one. Representative Pratt, you want to talk about smoke alarms?
It's bad.
Got dad jokes all day here.
Good job there. Make sure your green button's on. State Representative Phil Pratt, 62nd District. In front of you, Bill Request 908, which means we're going to have a light session upcoming. So these gentlemen are going to take it and go from there. Introduce yourself.
Matthew Marshall, Frankfurt Fire and EMS Fire Marshal.
Brian Muir, Louisville Fire Marshal.
Thank you all for having us. We're here today to talk about KRS 324, and that's smoke alarms in residential properties. So what brought this up is Brian and myself are part of a Kentucky organization where we get together with fire marshals and fire inspectors across the state of Kentucky. And it was brought to our attention that there's no legislation that implements that smoke alarms need to be present in residential properties when home inspections or transfer of property is taking place on ownership. So we thought what best to do is to go ahead and bring that in front of you all and make that a bill. So what we did is we put in that basically when ownership transfers, you put in, you check to make sure that a smoke alarm is working on the property. And if there's not one working, that either you replace that with a hardwired smoke alarm or a 10-year lithium battery smoke alarm. With that, there's already surrounding states that have that. Some to name are Florida, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, but that's just a few, Washington State. But basically, it kind of sells itself. Some of the things that we wanted to hit on were in the state of Kentucky, this is pretty simple. I can just kind of show this. I don't have a lot to pass around to you all, but this right here in 2022, just residential home fires itself, this is a list of 49 casualties. These are 49 people that lost their lives right here in the state of Kentucky. And Brian, what were you saying about that?
As a national average for fire fatalities, 3 of every 5 do not have working smoke alarms. 3 of every 5 who die in a fire don't have working smoke alarms. So it is a huge message of ours that working smoke alarms save lives. And so this is something that has been in place in Jefferson County for a while. We have seen our rate of fire fatalities drop significantly since 1980. And really, when you sell a house, the realtor has a form, says, I checked it, it works, or they didn't have one, I put one up. That's the end of it.
We've had also in 2023, there's already been 37, and these are reported across the state of Kentucky, fire fatalities. The other thing with that is this doesn't cost anybody anything. So in the state of Kentucky, all fire departments and Red Cross give out a free 10-year lithium battery smoke alarm. They'll do any. They'll give you as many as you want. They just sign the form. It's a grant given through the federal government. So it won't cost anybody anything. So if a homeowner wants to sell or inherit a property, they can get a free 10-year lithium battery smoke alarm.
I think that answered a lot of questions when you made that announcement that you can go to your fire department and pick it up for free. Does anybody have any questions on that? Representative Gentry.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Thank you for bringing that. And as a real estate investor in Jefferson County, Louisville, I'm very aware of the ordinance there. So a question is, when we go to statewide implementation of a law like this, is there anything in the bill or proposed bill that provides what's the word I'm looking for here? Punishments for not complying? And if there is, I'm going to a second tier question here. Is there anything that helps with notification to the general public about the law or the ordinance? And really what I'm pointing more towards too are like for sale by owner type transfers. that don't have professional real estate agents that carry the form that has to be signed. Just an open question, a thought to think about.
Absolutely. So when I started working on this process, Representative Pratt was like, "Hey, let's keep it simple right now." I didn't want to dig too deep into the weeds and start talking about fines and get too far into it, because the main goal is to keep people safe. So if implementing this paperwork right now and it just gets smoke alarms in 90% of these properties and it saves one name on this list in 2024, then I feel like I've succeeded, and then we can go further into it. So at this time, I don't have anything in there that says what a fine would be and a punishment or anything like that. And as far as for sale by owner, what we put in there, that anything that's inherited or transferred, even without a real estate agent, there's still an affidavit that would be signed by owner that would still be a documentation that's filed with the city clerk or the county clerk's office.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I agree smoke detectors are very important. But I want to go back to these. You said fire departments will give you a free 10-year lithium battery smoke detector. Every fire department and every county.
So not every. So
I want you to clarify that.
I didn't. Red Cross covers the entire state of Kentucky. And then if a fire department in the state of Kentucky has an agreement with Red Cross, the fire department will install it. So, but Red Cross will come out to every part of Kentucky, the entire state of Kentucky, and install the fire alarm.
Any place anywhere in the state of Kentucky.
Any place in the state of Kentucky.
Now, you mentioned, what was the statistic on, Mr. Chairman, is it okay if I ask? What's the statistic on fire alarms? You said that what deaths contributed to non-functioning or?
Yes, 3 of every 5 fire deaths did not have a working smoke alarm present.
Is there a difference between non-working and not having one in the home, period?
Not for that statistic, because we find plenty that have had the batteries removed. You know, plenty of people have 9-volt battery smoke alarms, and those batteries fit other things as well. So we'll frequently find them present without the battery. So that's why the message has been working smoke alarms save lives.
And to that point, that's why I put in here 10-year lithium and hardwired, because you can't take out the 10-year lithium and put it in your remote control. It's built in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Schickel.
Thank you for your patience. I went a little further on what Senator Higdon, because this is important. It may seem small, but it's important. Your testimony today is that the Red Cross will come and install a smoke detector.
I don't know where he's at. He's up there.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yes.
It will come and install a smoke detector. If
Yes.
You have a question.
So, Frankfurt.
That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. No more questions? Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
Your testimony. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Representative Meredith, talk about tasting rooms.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. State Representative Michael Meredith, representing the 19th House District. For those of you all who have served on the committee for some length of time, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we allowed satellite tasting rooms for distilleries in Kentucky. We allowed 1 satellite tasting room for each distillery in Kentucky that met the requirements under the law. What we have seen, and let me give a disclaimer, when I come before you today, this is not an ask from the Kentucky Distillers Association. I have obviously been working with them through this process to try to come up with the right solution for this. However, this is not their ask. There are several communities around Kentucky that don't currently have distilleries in that area, and they have seen the boom that has happened around bourbon tourism, and they want to see at least some type of facility come to their community, a tasting room or something like that. So we had initially drafted a piece of legislation that would have just raised the limit from 1 tasting room up to 2 or 3 tasting rooms for each distillery. because what we had anecdotally been told at the time was we thought that the reason we weren't seeing many of these, because again, we've had this allowed for 2 years now, but I think there's only 1 or 2 that have actually established in the state. And we initially thought the problem was that one satellite license was a limitation, and folks were not making the decisions yet because they were trying to strategically decide where they wanted to place those tasting rooms. As we have dived a little deeper into the subject, it's a little more complex than that. And so we continue to try to work through what is the option that will allow these to actually be successful in the state. So we don't have a complete piece of legislation in front of you today, but did want to come to you with the issue that we see, which is many of our communities outside of the traditional bourbon belt in Kentucky still want to take part in bourbon tourism, but have not found the way to do that yet. We thought satellite tasting rooms would be a way to get that done. But again, we've not seen that proliferate into those communities yet, and so we're trying to find a way to make a more friendly environment for that.
I know you've been working on this for a couple months now. Does anyone have any questions for Representative Meredith on this issue? Okay, if not, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, next we have Representative Callaway. As she's making her way to the table, let me make a little statement on this. This is probably a bill that's going to go to judiciary. But this is a bill that needs to be talked about a lot as she moves forward to it. I think there's a lot going on with it, so I promised her that we could get a couple minutes in here today, so I know she would appreciate feedback on this as she works on this bill. So Representative Callaway, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I am Representative Emily Callaway, and I represent portions of Jefferson County and Bullitt County.
I'm David Morgan, Reason Foundation.
So David approached me at one of the conventions recently and mentioned with accolades the legislative strides that Kentucky has made in improving our workforce by reducing some barriers that convicted felons are seeing within our licensing boards and public employment. So that's the impetus behind this. And so we started diving in. What are some ways that we can improve what the boards are doing and how convicted felons who are wanting to join the workforce get back in. So that's kind of the backstory behind this. And the way that we've approached it, there's been 39 other states just since 2015 who have started looking at this too, reducing the barriers. And 20 states, including DC, have actually implemented kind of a predetermination process for individuals who are pursuing a license or wish to pursue a license, just to let them know up front if they're even eligible to do that. And so that's what we want to see happening. And so you probably, how we were kind of late in the game handing these out, but there's a kind of an itemized list here. But the goal, we want to improve the application process for public employment and occupational licensing. So that looks like an expeditiously reviewing applications and disclosing the requirements up front. So that is that takes us to transparency as well. So not only are they evaluating the way that they look at applications to get it the most efficient, most expeditious process, but making that transparent on their website, also to the training and education facilities, making potential students, potential applicants aware of what the expectations are for this occupation. And then it does include within that process, we looked at a predetermination option where we were trying to say there were some crimes that were just they are automatic disqualifiers, and we just decided as we really worked through what that would look like in statute that was not ideal. What we want to do is give a due process for each applicant to say. And we've even itemized, you have the bill in front of you, but we've even given specifics on page 3 that items that a board or hiring authority has to consider. And we even are specific that can be, a video call, whatever works for the individual. So we're trying to make sure that there is a a process in which the individual's voice is heard, that there has been rehabilitation, give their reasons why they think they are a suitable fit for this job. So that is done on the front end instead of through possibly an appeals process. So we're trying to catch some of these things in front of the application and the education even, to spare the individual some time, even the board time. So we've got specifics that we've laid out that they shall consider. We did use that language. And again, what we'll see is just the idea here is to get people back into the workforce, to reduce barriers, reduce recidivism. We want individuals back into the workforce. We don't want stigmas and a level of society that just can't overcome what they've done. So this offers a second chance to those who are willing and ambitious, and so that's the goal behind this. And I do, as Chairman said, thank you for that. That I would appreciate any feedback on this. I'd like to make sure that we get this through, and whatever that looks like, I'm open.
All right.
Thank you for your
Mr.
time.
Morgan, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yes, one quick thing is that I want to add is that 96% of individuals will leave prison. And I feel that it's incumbent upon our country to make sure that there are real opportunities, because if you could check the box of employment and housing, it greatly reduces recidivism. And I think this bill could very well address those things in the state.
Okay, we have a couple questions. Let's go to Representative Herron.
Thank you, Chairman. I really don't have a question. It's just more of a comment. Thank you all for bringing this bill forward. I think that when we look at what is happening in Kentucky, we definitely need to make sure that when folks come home, they have an opportunity. And I think that this is one step and tool to make sure that happens. My phone is ringing right now. To make sure that happens. And so I am willing to work with you to get through, to see if there's anything else that needs to be changed, and let me know how I can support.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Senator Julie Rocky Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will this have, and I'm very encouraged about second chances, and I think this is a great piece of legislation. Will there be an appropriation attached to this, or how will the funding work?
I don't foresee a huge increase in funding because this is something they need to be doing anyway. It's an application process. And if anything, we could see reduced costs due to having to readdress antiquated processes. And let's get it streamlined. Let's get this done. And so that may even be beneficial. And again, reducing appeals, which can be costly. So catching some of that on the front end. So I don't see a significant impact.
Senator Manamay Bledsoe.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for your presentation. I was actually just on a panel in Lexington on the Be Free initiative, which is the barrier-free and reentry employment option. And one of the things we specifically discussed was licensures and making sure that people who are absolutely going to get out have an option and are clear about their choices moving forward. So I'm exceptionally supportive. I'm glad to see you working on it because it was something that was on my agenda as well. And I'm very excited about the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative Callaway, you get extra bonus points if you can tell me what's celebrated tomorrow, November 10th.
November 10th. Oh, Veterans Day is 11.
You're getting close. Your son should be a big clue.
Oh, Marine's birthday.
Marine's birthday. So call him, tell him happy birthday tomorrow.
I will. He will actually be coming home.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Charitable Gaming.
Thank you.
My favorite Navy man, Representative Kevin Bratcher. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year we started working on this bill. It's kind of updating some things with the charitable gaming, and kind of got, since it was a short session, it kind of got derailed, but we're back and we're going to try to get it passed this session. So my name's Kevin Bratcher. I'm state representative, and you guys introduce yourself.
My name's Ambrose Wilson. I'm commissioner of the Department of Charitable Gaming.
I'm Doug Hart. I'm the staff attorney for the department.
And I'll let Commissioner Ambrose explain.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. It's always a pleasure to work with you. And Chairman Cook, thank you for allowing us to be here to meet with each of you. As Representative Bratchard pointed out, this is the same bill that we introduced last year with two exceptions. The two exceptions would be to remove the limit on our enforcement division to allow them full police powers similar to the ABC and Department of Insurance within the agency now. All of our division are fully POP certified, and they went through in 2022 the accreditation process with the Kentucky Police Chiefs Association. So this would allow them full police powers. And then the other thing is KRS 238-536, which deals with adjusted gross receipts. There's certain aspects of that now, if they don't maintain a certain percentage, they are the organizations would be suspended for a year. This allows us a sliding scale, which would allow some of the organizations to be suspended for less than a year. And we've worked with our organizations and the industry, and they are all in favor of this. We have found that a lot of times the problems that are created can be overcome very quickly, and therefore we don't feel like a full year suspension is necessary to correct the situation. And the other ones were all included last year, and Mr. Harden or I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions about charitable gaming? Senator Schickel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am glad to see you looking out for this, Representative Bratcher, because the charitable gaming, I get a lot of comments from people that are doing this stuff. It's a tough deal these days with all the competition they have and rules and that. But how many people are, when you talk about these enforcement officers that are POP certified, how many people are we talking about?
Five folks, sir.
Thank you.
Representative Dixon.
Yeah, thank you. I got one question, really probably 2 points rolled into that question. So
Okay.
Can you regulate what you're proposing? Do you have the ability to regulate it efficiently? And what does that look like?
Regulate, now what are you referring to, sir?
What you're proposing?
Yes, we can regulate it. The way we can regulate it is, our organizations are required to file a quarterly report. We monitor that report so we understand where they are regarding the retention statute, and we've started being very proactive in trying to help them before the end of the year when they do their year-end financial report to make sure that they're meeting the requirements of the retention statute. So yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Higdon.
A couple questions, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Go for it.
POP certification, of course, that allows them to carry a gun. And do we have that type of problem with charitable gaming that we need a sidearm?
Senator Higgins, you never know. You never know when you go into one of these organizations or one of these facilities what may arise. You just never know.
What about the hazardous duty? Are your current 5? Are they hazardous duty now?
They are not now, but if this, if we can change this to what we're asking you all to do, they would receive hazardous duty retirement.
And you'll have I guess there'd be a physical note associated with that, what that cost would be to convert those.
We did a budget impact study, and it does not have it. As a matter of fact, it may have a negative impact.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, I do want to thank you for being. There's always questions for charitable gaming, and you're always very good about answering them and dealing with that. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you.
Chairman Cook, I would encourage any of the members, if they have any questions about charitable gaming, please give us a call. We'll do anything we can to educate and to help you or your constituents.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now, I had a phone call this morning, and I don't appreciate the last minute on this, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the boxing issue you asked about.
That's out of my area.
Out of your area, I understand. So,
well,
if coming forward,
Director
okay.
Bird's coming up.
All right. We gotta just.
I don't know what we're talking about.
No, everybody's abandoning ship. Nobody wants to get yelled at for the last minute, but I understand it, sir. You got 2 minutes. Introduce
Thank you,
yourself.
Mr.
and roll
Chairman. Matt Bird, Executive Director, Kentucky Boxing Wrestling Commission. Quick elevator pitch. Basically, the current language of the KRS 229.011 does not allow for amateur boxing promoters to charge admission to their shows. Once they charge admission, it comes under our jurisdiction. We cannot license individuals under 18. Primarily, the individuals that do amateur boxing are under 18. So we are asking for legislation to be changed, to change the definition of exhibition to allow for amateur boxer promoters to charge admission.
And I guess I should say for the record, I'm also the staff attorney for the Boxing and Wrestling Commission. This was a bill that we tried to get through last year. It didn't make it through, so it's identical to the one that we attempted to get through last year.
Okay, appreciate it. It's out there now. Now we can talk about it and see what's going to go on. Next time, bring it to us earlier.
Yes, sir.
All right. Who wants to adjourn?
Oh.
Motion to adjourn, second? We're done.